For this video, we are going to talk about Article 131, Prohibition, Interruption, and Dissolution of Peaceful Meetings. Article 131, Prohibition, Interruption, and Dissolution of Peaceful Meetings. The penalty of prison correctional in its minimum period shall be imposed upon any public officer or employee who, without legal ground, shall prohibit or interrupt the holding of a peaceful meeting or shall dissolve the same. The same penalty shall be imposed upon a public officer or employee who shall hinder any person from joining any lawful association or from attending any of its meetings. The same penalty shall be imposed upon any public officer or employee who shall prohibit or hinder any person from addressing, either alone or together with others, any petition to the authorities for the correction of abuses or redress of grievances. What are its elements? Number one, that the offender is a public officer or employee. Number two, that such public officer or employee commits any of these acts. Number one, he prohibits or interrupts without legal ground the holding of a peaceful meeting or by dissolving the same. Or number two, he hinders any person from joining any lawful association or from attending any of its meetings. Or number three, he prohibits or hinders any person from addressing, either alone or together with others, any petition to the authorities for the correction of abuses or redress of grievances. Now, the phrase public officer or employee here refers to public officers in general, not just to those vested with the authority to make arrests. For example, mayors, vice mayors, councilors, or governors who, in the performance of their duties, prohibit, interrupt, or dissolve without legal ground peaceful meetings. So unlike the use of the phrase or the use of the term public officer in the previous articles we have already discussed, here they refer to public officers in general. Now, the phrase without legal ground, this simply means there is no valid ground or no valid reason to prohibit, interrupt, or dissolve a peaceful meeting. Take note, however, that this applies only to the first punishable act. And what is that first punishable act again? Prohibiting, interrupting, or dissolving without legal ground the holding of a peaceful meeting. And when you say meeting, it includes public gatherings, rallies, and demonstrations, whether indoors or outdoors. Now, the first question to ask is, when is a meeting not peaceful? In the case of Evangelista versus Earnshaw, 57 Philippine Reports 255, the Supreme Court had occasion to rule that when the meeting to be held is organized by people who in general or who in several times past have uttered seditious speeches urging the overthrow of the government, the mayor may prohibit the holding of such meeting because in that case, the petitioner addressed a letter to the mayor of Manila requesting for the issuance of a permit so that they could hold a public meeting. And the petitioner here was the Communist Party of the Philippines. Now, it was already proven that in several times past, seditious speeches have been uttered by the members of this group, urging the overthrow of the government. The mayor of Manila at that time denied the request of the petitioner. And the sole issue that was resolved in that case was whether or not the denial of the request to hold a public meeting by the Communist Party is a violation of Article 131. The Supreme Court answered in negative because according to the Supreme Court, inasmuch as the doctrine and principles advocated by the Communist Party were very seditious in that they suggested and incited rebellious conspiracies and distorted and obstructed the authority duties, the denial of the petition to hold a public meeting is legal. And the mayor, according to the Supreme Court, was justified in prohibiting the holding of such meeting by refusing to issue a permit for that purpose. This was cited in the book of Reyes. Now, the second instance wherein we can say that a meeting is not peaceful is when during the meeting, violence or destruction erupts, or the meeting itself will cause disturbance to the peace and order in the community. Okay, take note of that. Now, the right to free speech and to peaceably assemble is not absolute. It may be regulated by the government under the following grounds. Number one, when the same becomes injurious to the equal enjoyment of others having equal rights. For example, a rally at a public thoroughfare will not be allowed because it will disrupt the flow of traffic or inconvenience motorists and pedestrians who also have the right to use the road. Or another ground is when the danger to be apprehended is imminent or the evil to be prevented is a serious one, as shown in example number 2, in the case of Ignacio et al. Versus Ella. Given the proximity of the rally of a religious group to another church whose religious views are derogatory to the other and vice versa, the rally will be disallowed as it might result in the happening of untoward incidents and disturbance of peace and order. When is a meeting considered peaceful? A meeting is considered peaceful so long as there is no disturbance of peace and order, whatever may be the nature of the meeting, whether religious, political, social, or professional. Now let's go to the second punishable act, hindering any person from joining any lawful association or from attending any of its meetings. For example, hindering a person from joining a social club like the Rotary Club. There's nothing wrong, no, with, or there's nothing illegal with joining a social club, okay, because it has lawful purposes. Or when a public officer prohibits a lawyer from attending a meeting of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, that will constitute the second punishable act because there's nothing wrong with attending a meeting of an organization which is sanctioned by law, allowed by law. Of course, if you attend a meeting of the CPP-NPA, if you are a member of the CPP-NPA, and then you attend their meetings, there will be no violation there if a police officer, for example, or a public officer attempts to hinder you from joining such a meeting or joining such association. Third punishable act, prohibiting or hindering any person from addressing, either alone or together with others, any petition to the authorities for the correction of abuses or redress of grievances. When the speech is only for the purpose of expressing grievances against the government, it will not justify the suppression of free speech for as long as the same is not seditious or that there is no reasonable ground to believe that the danger apprehended is imminent or the evil to be apprehended is a serious one. Now, if the offender is a private individual, the crime committed here may be disturbance of public order in Article 153, not Article 131. Take note, ha? The offender here is a private individual. Even if all the elements are present, but if he is a private individual, he cannot commit the crime under Article 131, but he may be held liable for another crime, which is disturbance of public order in Article 153. If the offender is a participant in the meeting itself, not a stranger, even if he is a public officer, he will not be liable under Article 131, but instead, he will be liable for the crime of unjust vexation under the second paragraph of Article 287. Now, if the offender, whether a public officer or a private individual, prevents or disrupts the meeting of national or local legislative bodies like Congress or the City Council or the Provincial Board, for example, the offender, as I said, whether he be a public officer or individual or a private individual, he will be liable for the crime of disturbance of proceedings under Articles 143 or 144, not under Article 131.